It's important too we talk about the Leafs because they have not had the best go the last couple of weeks, and to start, I want to put the stat up for you.
And this 5-3 in their last 8.
I know it's funny because
but they've stunk.
They've stunk, and so Saturday at 5:45, Sportsnet Stats puts out this. Jesse, I'm going to throw this to you. I should have thrown it to you earlier. I'm sorry.
You just read it.
It is going into this weekend where the Leafs are in comparison to their past 6 season averages. So in 24-25, going into this weekend, they have 18 wins. The average is 17. They have 38 points. The average amount of points is 38.5. Their goals per game is actually down a little bit, 2.93 to 3.38. And then their team save percentage is up by 1 point.
Oh, geez.
9-12 to 9-11. Now, I want to throw out there are a couple of things that stand out to me.
The first thing is percentage is very surprising.
It's not to me, though.
No?
Because if you look at some of the years where their goaltending really faltered, it didn't falter in November. It didn't falter in October. Jack Campbell had a crazy November like a few years ago, and they were talking about going to the Olympics, and we're like, how do you not include Jack Campbell?
I do remember that.
Bad the rest of the way.
Well, and I wonder about the Canadian bubble season, because that wasn't in the fall, but the first 29 games, I think his crazy win streak was in the middle of that. So that could make some sense.
I wonder too, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, the way that they have changed the game in terms of how they played has been different. But there has been a lot of conversation this weekend about both games and how they went. And if Toronto had lost to the Sabres yesterday, it would have been a real ugly day for Leafs Twitter.
It would have been bad.
And it wasn't great after the Detroit loss. And I'll be honest with you, after the stream, I said it. I was like, for me, that was a game that they did not get up for and they should have. And we can break that down in a second here. But one of the things that really stood out is the conversation surrounding Max Domi. And I think the Max Domi conversation speaks to a broader thing, because what's happened is a whole bunch of guys have come back to the lineup after this team was doing really, really well with essentially Tavares, Marner, Tavares, Marner, Nylander having to carry them through and carry most of the offensive load through November. Yep. And they won 7 of 8, and it was quite the story. And also they had a bunch of time in between games, right? There was like one game where they played, or 1 week they played 2 games. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And now they've had to play a lot of games in a short amount of time while taking on guys who were injured and injured early enough in the season where maybe their roles weren't quite cut out. Max Domi, Bobby McMahon, Nick Robertson had a tough go.
Underratedly, Max Pacioretty was just starting to get established and then got hurt for like a month.
That's right. And so I think there's a couple of things when we talk about Max, but we talk about the Max Domi, that is. There's 2 Maxes on this team. But I think that there is a thing with Leaf fans where we sort of forget, and I think this could be all fans, and you can be forgiven for this. When a player comes back to the lineup, Matthews specifically people were having this conversation about Matthews last week, Domi this weekend, where he'd gone, basically since game 2 of the Boston series since scoring. Insane. So that's 8 months or something like that. Max Pacioretty, when he came back, people were somewhat critical of his first couple, and then he scored goals and everybody's off his back. And what happens when you have a player come back to the lineup, they're not up to game speed.
First period against Detroit, I was like, oh, Bobby. And then the second 2 periods, I went, hey, Bobby.
And people are like, well, how come you can't get up to game speed? Like, if you're not ready, don't start. The reality is, unless you're playing the games, you're not going to be up to game speed.
No one ever understands. I was talking to a friend about this yesterday. Like, first half of a back-to-back versus second. And I think it's applicable to this, like getting up to game speed. Like, well, no, they shouldn't be tired on the second half of a back-to-back. They're pro athletes. Okay, you're not going to believe who's on the other end of the ice. And you're going to be embarrassed when you find out.
Is it pro athletes?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Rested pro athletes.
Yeah. So when Max scored yesterday, off of a really cool behind-the-back pass from Nicholas Robertson, who'd sat for a week, and you could see it come out of him, right? Just the raw, I did it.
Robertson has been on the ice for some of the best celebrations.
Yes, he has. And weirdly enough, that line, who during the stream on Saturday night, I was like, that third line of Minton, Robertson, Domi, I'm watching that. Not Robertson, Minton, McMahon, Domi, I'm watching that. They switch out Minton, they put in Robertson, and hey, smart thing to do on a back-to-back because you get fresh bodies.
And Domi to the middle.
And Domi to the middle, and it looked good.
It did. It did. It did. It looked like something I want to see again. There are reasons to think it could work. There are reasons to think it won't work. They were good enough that I want to see it again. They got the Leafs' first 2 goals in a game where they were dead.
It took Max Domi 22 games to score his first goal in 23-24. It took 23 to score in 24-25.
It makes no sense. And he hadn't scored a point since I think it was October 21st.
I think that was right around the time he got injured. It was a Montreal game. Remember, Jesse, that you were there, that you texted us. You're like, did that Max Domi thing make it to TV?
Yeah, this is when he got trucked in the middle of the ice and nobody noticed.
Yeah, Newhook got him.
And no call, no nothing.
No call. No, it wasn't. Nobody didn't make the broadcast. Remember, I had to show you the screenshot of the corner of the screen where he got completely blindsided.
Happened to a Leaf. It's fine.
Yeah, it's okay.
Fine.
Yeah. So anyway,
George.
I think Max was injured, and then I think Bobby was injured. And I think some of the Matthews was injured, and they came back, and it took a couple games to adjust, just like it did with Pacioretty. And when it doesn't matter that the overall talent of the lineup is better. These are human beings, and when you're playing with someone different, you have to adjust. And you don't have that thing in the back of your head where I know where this person's going to be because you haven't played with them. And this third line is completely new.
Yeah, completely.
We've never seen this before.
No.
It's not like Pacioretty stepping back in next to Matthews Marner, who have built-in chemistry for a decade, or Tavares Nylander, who have built-in chemistry. And by the way, I love Pacioretty back with Tavares.
Yeah.
I just love it. It's not easy to do. And I think we got to give people a couple weeks before we start sounding alarm bells. I know that's not what Twitter's going to do, but I do think it's important that we kind of do that because these are really talented guys, and people are like, well, you got to trade Max. You got to trade Max?
For what?
Oh, yeah, the guy hasn't scored in 25 games. Okay, let's trade him now.
Nearly $4 million forward, first year of 3. And hasn't scored a point since October. Oh, yeah. The line will be out the door of suitors for... Shut up.
And did you watch the playoffs last year? Did you watch what Max did with Matthews and Bertuzzi down the stretch? This guy is, to me, a heart and soul guy for the Leafs. Attitude and passion, and is dying to be a Leaf. Every day he wakes up and springs out of bed because he's a Toronto Maple Leaf. This is a guy I want all day. I don't care if he has to struggle a little bit time to time.
Well, the problem with leaning on numbers too much is numbers can be, just like your eyes, liars.
No. They're objective.
No, what they do is they leave out context. And we talked about it at the time. Max Domi's playing terrible. I'm going back a month. Max Domi's playing terrible and is clearly hurt. So, yeah, the pointless streak was 17 games. That's so many games.
A lot of games.
I think it looks so much worse than it really was. He was playing games he shouldn't have been.
And he said that, right? He said that to the media. He said, I should not have been playing.
And Minton was not an option at the time because he was recovering as well. It's simple. Just putting, nope.
People forget that as well.
People forget. You see? So, yeah, he was playing terrible. He was a net negative, but it leaves out that very important context. And now, if that third line succeeds... Like, you took some guys out of the lineup who didn't necessarily deserve it. I don't hate Timmins coming out for a game for Myers.
I think Timmins had a bad couple of games last weekend. It was fine.
I don't have a problem with that. Minton coming out is tough, but he's young. He can be sent down, and it won't hurt him to be sent down. Only one is Holmberg did nothing to be taken out of the lineup. I've really liked him after not liking him. Next game, I would probably take out Reeves for Pontus. That's about it.
Jesse?
Yeah, I didn't understand your anger at the end of Saturday's game because the team's been playing really well with Adams.
Yeah,
after his stream on Saturday because the team's been playing really well, and everything you just said still applies to the team after that loss on Saturday. And I feel like I'm very happy with how the Leafs are playing this season. It feels like, even though, like, I think a lot of fans are upset with how the lack of excitement with the team because they're not playing fire wagon hockey, like very, very boring hockey. And Craig Berube has taken away all the fun of the team, but it's resulted in a first place in the division team, which we can't say very often about the Leafs.
Yeah,
no, surely not.
These teams of the past couple seasons.
Is doing better.
No, nobody's doing better. And during this stretch where they've looked awful, everybody keeps saying they look so awful. They're winning games despite not scoring, which is a plus for me. And since December 1st, they're tied for second in the most points that any team has collected. They have 10 points, which is tied with like 5 other teams who also have 10 points, and one team's ahead of them with 11 points. So
is that better than 3 points that the Sabres have collected?
It is better than the 3 points the Sabres have. Yeah. So
I think
I look at the team and I say positives right now at this point of the season.
And here's what I would look at too.
And you're not gonna win all 82.
You're not. Here's the games. Here are the games that piss me off though, Jess. Columbus, Montreal, Pittsburgh, Detroit. Bottom feeding teams, except for Ottawa. And Ottawa, they did lose a game. They lost a game in Ottawa, didn't they? They beat Ottawa? I don't even know. It doesn't matter.
I want to say they won one, lost one.
Those teams.
I might be wrong.
Those teams and the way they lost those games. The Columbus game was inexcusable. They were garbage. Remember, it was their second half of back-to-back. They'd had the game of their life against Tampa the night before.
Hill to be.
Yeah.
And that was Hill to be in net.
Yep.
That Columbus game sucked.
Yeah. And then you got really mad at everybody for not talking to the media.
Oh, I get pissed at that. That shit still makes me mad. Sorry.
Dude, wasn't that like October?
It was October.
It was a while.
But
ago.
you look at the Pittsburgh game. They just flat out didn't show up. And frankly, with all the heat I'm giving the Penguins deservedly this year, I expect the Leafs to go out there and defend me personally.
They have been pretty good recently. Actually,
the Pens?
They're trending up.
No, they're not. Did you see what happened this weekend?
I guess not.
Oh, have I got a quote for you? I've got.
I swear, I've got a goal. 6 wins the last 10,
and a quote for you, Stephen Dangle. Yeah, they do have 6. Yeah, but I'm talking in the last week.
Oh shit!
4 of those wins happened 2 weeks ago.
Oh god, the NHL changes so fast.
It does.
Man. I have 2 book signings this weekend. I'm sorry.
The Batherson goal. If anybody's from Pittsburgh, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah. The Pens lost their most recent game to Ottawa,
and I'm pretty sure Jarry let in a goal on like the first shot again.
Yeah,
he's done that like 6
and then
times.
the game before they won. The game before that was the Colorado 6-2 loss where they got bumped.
Oh well, never.
I don't know. And then the game before that's the Leafs game, and then the game before that they lost.
Okay,
they're like 3-3 in their last 6.
From last time I checked in.
Yes. No. And listen,
they're very average.
The NHL does move quickly. I agree.
There's games every night.
Don't worry about the Pittsburgh thing yet.
No. I want to send you guys something.
Oh, okay.
Don't worry.
My point of being frustrated after the Red Wings game was this is a beatable team that you need to beat. It's not a I don't know how Panthers fans or Vegas fans or whatever feel about, I'm talking about top teams, Colorado, Dallas. You're going to lose to bad teams.
Yes.
You're going to lose to teams you don't like losing against. But like the way they got steamrolled by the Blue Jackets, the way they couldn't get anything going against the Red Wings, I'm like, guys, I get losing games. I get it. Nobody likes it. We all want them to be 82-0.
Yes.
But when the team doesn't play to its own expectations, that's what drives me nuts. Because this is a first-place team. Mm-hmm. This is a team that should challenge for the President's Trophy. And it's when you lose the games to the Penguins of the world, when you just are like, nah, we had a fart game. It happens. I get it. Mm-hmm. The Leafs in the past, the reason they've never really won the division in this era outside of the Team Canada or the Canadian one is, it's its own outlier. I'm not going to take it away from them, but it's an outlier. The reason they haven't done it is because they yield to bad teams.
Right.
When you yield 10 to 12 points per year to a bad team, it takes you out of the running to win a President's Trophy, win a division, get top seeding, make sure that you got home ice advantage should you make it past the first round.
Yep.
That's the part that bothers me. So I was momentarily frustrated. And yesterday what I saw
with Saturday's game, I think if his name's not Austin Matthews, if his name is Justin Hall or Nick Robertson or Kerfoot, the turnover at center ice,
the Tanev pass to him
at the end of the period where he doesn't collect that pass and it leads directly to a goal, we come here on Monday and we're yelling about that player being traded and send him to the moon and all that stuff. But
How many times does Austin do that though?
But his name is Austin Matthews. That's the reason we're not doing that kind of stuff, and it's not the expectation. We kind of know it's more of a mistake, and we forgive that going forward. And I think with the team and their effort there Saturday, I don't believe that they're going to show up. If it was a 7-game series against the Red Wings that started on Saturday, that might have been game 1, but I trust this team to win 4 out of that 7.
I agree with you completely. Even 5 out. I think, because you're always going to lose a game that you should have won in the playoffs in a round. I look at Matthews and I'm like, if that's Alexei Kovalev, who was not interested in defense, but was probably the most talented player of his generation, or one of.
Yeah.
I'm pissed about it because, dude, what the fuck? And he did that so many times. Austin and Mitch and John and Willie, to a smaller extent, are defensively very responsible players. And Austin has had really good defensive metrics.
They have different strengths. Yeah.
Sure. But what I'm saying is that, like, when a play like that happens, people are like, oh, Austin's clear, still injured. He sucks. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Breaking out into flop sweats. I'm like, guys, how many times have you seen him do that? That's why it's so weird.
Yeah, the old adage in hockey is that you can't send a bad pass to a good player. And we saw an instance where a great player received a terrible pass.
He bottled a pass.
He fucking bottled a pass, but that doesn't happen. Like, there's a reason that's an old saying in hockey, is because this is a 99th percentile thing to happen to a generational player like Austin Matthews.
One of my favorite things about starting to play hockey is it's actually made everything they do so much more impressive. And like, there was like such a mundane play the other night where someone passed it directly into Marner's feet. And he kicks it up to himself like full stride, head up.
You can't do that?
Not in digital. Fuck no. And I was just like, God, you're so impressive.
You should work on your feet.
I should work on
your feet.
All right.
I don't know.
Mr.
Okay.
Friggin- all right, Jesse.
Okay.
All right.
You're skipping hockey doesn't make you better.
No, it's true. It's true. I've missed a few skates recently.
Yeah.
I'm falling behind.
You are.
Getting past.
Maybe you'd be a little better at your feet work than...
Damn.
Yeah.
It's true.
It's true.
Wow.
My odds of making the Leafs they're plummeting.
I'm sorry,
With
Steve.
the injuries, you would have got a call up, but they looked at your game and said, he's not trying lately.
Yeah. With Austin Matthews' goal last night, he's officially scored 50 regular season goals in a calendar year for the 4th time in his career, doing so in consecutive years. No other player in Leafs history has achieved that feat more than once.
Matthews?
Yeah.
You mean against Detroit?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, okay.
Bogus stat.
I think 50 goals in a calendar year is something. I think it's something.
If it's anything.
Wow, really? Are you guys that hardcore? The NHL PR put that out.
I don't know if it's anything.
It's fun.
It's fun.
It's fun.
Does it mean anything? Do we put that on the Hall of Fame resume?
He scored 50 fucking goals.
How many?
Hey,
man.
okay.
4 times in a
if
row.
Colin Campbell is allowed to be like, hey, I coached these dudes who became GMs, which means...
Hey, guys, I upgraded our video replay from VCR to DVD.
Like, you really claimed responsibility for Steve Yzerman. Like, oh my God.
When do we ever evaluate anything with hockey in a calendar year? There's a reason they play a season. Like, from 0 to 82.
You know what, Jesse?
Yeah.
You know what?
I don't know. How many games are there in a calendar year?
There are 82.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, the calendar, it varies?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it would be around.
It depends on how many you play from October to January that previous season, right?
Yeah, but it's about the same.
In theory,
It's going to be within 78 to 82.
Yeah, in theory,
Right,
you could
right.
play like 90.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Plus the playoffs. Like, are they including
Are
the
we
playoffs in
diminishing
there?
50 goals 4 straight calendar
I
years,
think it's
sir?
ridiculous.
You know what,
Kinda-
chat?
kinda dumb.
There's no chat. Comment section. Can you back me on this? I think
You know what, chat?
That's a great freaking
All
stat.
right, chat.
All right, chat.
Stupid
Like
stat.
bomb us. Like bomb.